Welcome to the Steve Stine Guitar Podcast, brought to you by guitar-zoom.com. If you want to improve your guitar playing, keep listening. If you want to improve even faster, go to guitar-zoom.com, where you'll find all of Steve's premium courses, masterclasses, and memberships that'll help you quickly and easily improve your playing. Now here's your host, Steve Stine.
Let me know if you have any issues with hearing me or seeing me or anything like that. Just throw it in the chat so I can see you. What we're going to be talking about today is what to practice and how to think about your practice when you don't have a lot of time. Okay, sometimes when you go to practice, especially during the holidays and things like that, there's just not a lot of time. And then people say, well, what am I supposed to work on? If I only have 10 minutes a day or something like that, what is it that I should be trying to work on? And so I thought that might be a good thing for us to talk about today. So just let me know if you can see me okay. I'm on my laptop today. I've got a bunch of other stuff going on too, but I just thought I would do this quick. Hey, everybody, can you hear me okay? Can you see me okay? Just making sure. Awesome. Hey, Noel. Hey, Furba. Hey, Jimmy. Hey, VJ. Sam. Okay, cool. Let me know that you can hear me okay. All right, good. Okay, so anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this really silly picture here, and we're going to talk about this. Now, before I get started, I want to thank one of my guitar students from last week who we got into this conversation, and that's why I thought it might be really good to talk about it with you. So what we were talking about is, what is it? Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. What do we do when we don't have a lot of time to practice? What is it that we're supposed to focus on, right? So what was really interesting is he thought that my answer would be like focusing on scales and things like that. And before I even get started with this conversation, please understand, I'm just giving you some suggestions. That's all. You can practice anything that you want, as much or as little as you want. These are just things to think about a little bit. Merry Christmas to you too, Jeff. Thank you, Jacob, Ross, John, Aaron, everybody out there. Okay, so I'm going to show you this really terrible picture of, let's say you were a little kid and you were drawing a picture of a sun when you were a kid, which it almost looks like should be like a nucleus or something. But think about that, okay? Think about that picture. So what we've got here for my analogy of your practice is really three parts, okay? There's the core, the inside, the center, okay? And then there's the fringe. Now, there's two parts to the fringe. There's the inside fringe, which is close to the core, and then there's the outside fringe, okay? So we think about the core, the nucleus, right? And then we've got the fringe. We've got the inner fringe, and we've got the outer fringe. Now, what I have found from my many years of teaching guitar is that a lot of times students get this, and I shouldn't say students, just guitar players in general, they get this thought in their mind that they have to be so good at things before they can actually move on to the next level in their guitar playing, right? I have to be really good at scales, or I need to understand all my theory before I join a band, or before I jam with some of the other musicians, or before I write music or something like that. And the problem with that mentality is that you're probably never going to be good enough. Like, there's not going to be a day where you wake up and go, all right, now I know everything and I can do everything. Now I can make my step out and start playing in a band, or whatever it might be, just using these as analogies. That doesn't happen, okay? What you need to focus on is the core, all right? So let's talk about this a little bit. With many of the students that I've had before, certainly my overachievers, which I find a lot with guitar playing, is that they tend to focus a lot on the fringe. It's always, how fast can I do this, or can I sweep my arpeggios, or can I speed pick, or whatever? And these are all good things. Don't get me wrong, okay? But let's talk about practice, okay? Now, the whole point of this is, what do you do when you don't have a lot of time to practice, right? So if you had 8 hours a day to practice, you could practice all of the things that you want to do, maybe, right? But if you have an hour, you don't have as much time. If you have a half an hour, you don't have as much time, okay? If you have 15 minutes, what can you get done in 15 minutes, right? So here's what I want you to think about. If we think about this picture right here, the core, the center, is who you are. And sometimes it's hard to define that, but it's the things that you know. If you didn't pick up a guitar for 6 months and you grabbed a guitar again and you started playing again, these things would still be there. Maybe they need a little tweaking and whatever, but they're still going to be there. They're you. When you wake up every day, you hopefully remember how to walk and remember how to talk and all these different kinds of things like that.
If you're enjoying this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, go to guitar-Zoom.com and consider becoming a premium member. There are 3 memberships to choose from. VIP, which gives you instant access to a library of short but powerful courses as well as new bite-sized lessons each month. There's also Play Songs that gives you step-by-step lessons so you can learn to play your favorite songs fast. And finally, there's Masterclass, university-level training on everything from soloing to music theory, from blues to home recording. For more info about these memberships and all the premium courses available to you, go to guitar-Zoom.com. Now back to the podcast.
When you move out to the fringes, the inner fringe is the things that you're trying to grasp and pull into the center. Okay. And a lot of times with YouTube and all these other things like that, we tend to practice a lot, maybe even too much of all of these fringes, right? So we're not able to necessarily pull them all into the center. One of the greatest things about, organizing your practice is learning how to not focus on so many fringe elements. Just be able to pull in certain ones that you really can see how they would impact the center, right? And then we've got the outer fringe. Now, the outer fringe is as far out as you can go, right? The very tips of these things right here. They're things that we want to be able to do someday. We wish we could do. We see another guitar player or hear a band or something and go, man, I wish I could do that, okay? The problem is if we're always focusing on this outer fringe of, and I'll call it dreams, that doesn't mean they can't become reality. Again, I'm not downplaying your ability to do whatever it is you want. I'm just saying that if all we do is focus on that outer fringe, we never really develop the center and we wind up hollow, right? Because if we're looking at trying to write songs or get with a band or play with other musicians or whatever, the goal is to develop that center, because that center is what gets you gigs, right? That center is the thing that people get to know you from. Maybe you're a blues player or a rock player, or you're a singer-songwriter, or all these different things can happen by developing this center, not just, how fast you can play your scales or something, but as a musician, what can you do with that center that really defines you, that every day you grab a guitar, or every day you walk up to a microphone and you're going to sing, you have this ability, right? And again, I don't want to go on way too long because I don't want to take way too much of your time, but understand there's many times that my center has changed for various reasons. If I get hired to do a tour, for instance, by a band, right? Now all of a sudden I have however long, maybe it's only 2 weeks to prepare for this tour, and I have to learn all of their material, and I'm not very familiar with 80% of it. Well, my core responsibility now has to become to practice those things, right? Now this is a little different because I couldn't do that in 20 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day. I would really have to focus on that. Or I remember one time joining a band when I was quite young. The first time I joined this band, and they're like, look, we love your guitar playing, but in order to play with us, you need to sing, and you need to sing harmony. Okay. Well, that wasn't something that I had done much of. I'd done gang vocals and that sort of thing, but really solid 3-part harmony things and stuff like that wasn't really my thing. Where for them, their center, they did a lot of those kinds of things because of the way that they grew up, the musical influence and what they wanted out of life. Mine was all guitar focused. So I had to spend a lot of time developing my ability to be able to hear and sing a harmony, a third or a fifth or something like that. So that became my focus. That was my center, right? But since I developed that, now that would have been a fringe element, right, that I had to pull in to be able to utilize, okay? So if we think about this, when we think about you and we think about practice, what I want you to think about is your core. Now, again, I'm not telling you don't practice fringe and whatever. You can do whatever you want. But if you don't have a lot of time for the next month because of holidays and all that sort of thing, don't forget about the core elements that make you you, the talent that you have, not just the things that you can't do. Now, the unfortunate part is when you wind up with less time to practice, it's the inner fringe that suffers. because there's some really good stuff sitting on the outside there that's just waiting to come in and grab. But if you don't have time, some of that stuff may go away. So you have to make sure that you're focusing on your center, and then possibly any of this immediate fringe that needs to kind of come in, and so you can maintain it. This is the hard part about balancing, how much you practice versus being real life, right? Having a family and jobs and everything else that goes on. So my point, I guess, is that I just want you to try and think about that a little bit. So for two reasons. Number one, so you're not always frustrated with yourself and the fact that you can't do some of these things. You need to start learning to figure out what you can and already do, and how to use the inside fringe to make those better. Okay, to make you more confident and give you new ideas and bring that stuff in. Okay. Then the next thing is that thinking about this whole thing and understanding that if you're always focusing on the outer edges of the fringe, you're never going to feel like you're good enough to play with other people, or, hang out with X, Y, or Z, or write songs, or whatever these things could be. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Okay. You can do any of those things. So hopefully that helps you a little bit in better understanding that. And if this helps you at all, please do me a favor. You can subscribe to the channel, check out my guitar stuff at guitar-zoom.com. But most importantly, maybe share this information with somebody else, because I come across a lot of guitar players, I was going to say students, but that are just always frustrated. They're just always feeling like they're never good enough. And the truth is you can do a lot better by just changing your mindset a little bit. So, all right. So everybody take care, stay positive, and I'll talk to you next Monday. Have a great week. Try and kind of rethink the way that you're thinking about what you're practicing, and find those things that you really need the most, and develop that core. Okay. Develop that confidence. So take care, everybody. Next time on the Steve Stine Guitar Podcast, what I'm going to be talking about today is just some simple slide ideas that you can add into your scales to make things sound a little more interesting. So again, hopefully you can hear my guitar and my voice okay. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to look at just any scale would be fine. We're just looking at the E major scale here. Right there. Okay, so I'm just heading up to the 7th fret. Good morning, Dana. I'm just heading up to the 7th fret. I'm going to play 7, 9, 11, 7, 9, 11, and then 8, 9, right? Good morning, Rob. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay, see me okay. Hey, Jose. Okay, is the sound okay for everybody? Hello, everybody. Thanks, John. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to talk about little half-step bends that we can use in our playing, okay? Just simple ideas that we can use to make things sound a little more interesting. Hey, Steve Stine here from guitarzoom.com, and thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, can I ask you a favor? Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Your feedback means more to me than you'll ever know. And be sure to check out my YouTube channels, where you'll find over 1,000 videos to help you with your guitar playing. Thanks again for listening. Stay positive, keep playing, and keep having fun.
If you'd like some help with your guitar playing but you're not sure how to get started, go to guitarzoom.com and look for the Help Me Choose survey. By answering a few simple questions, you'll get Steve's personal recommendation of the perfect course for you. All this and more is available for you at guitarzoom.com.